Oh, what's up YouTube? In this video I'll be showing you how to easily edit your studio photos when it comes to Photoshop, and you're going to be learning the basic techniques I tend to use, or how I color graded this very image and how I did the skin retouching for this very photo when it comes to studio images or studio photo shoots. So if I want to download the image, follow along, simply check the links in the description of this very video. So in order to import the raw image, so the purpose for doing this video is because I shot these photos using a Nikon D810, and basically the files were not reading in Capture One. So I want to show you how I went about this and how I was able to get the best out of these very images. So I'm just going to come and right click and come to open with and open the image with Photoshop. So I first of all did the basic adjustments like the color correction. So we are in camera raw 17.0, and if at all you have Lightroom, you can use Lightroom for this. So just come and slightly take the highlights down and also the whites. I'll open up the shadows and open up the exposure of this image slightly. So I'll take the blacks down just like that and add some contrast to the image. And basically this is what I would do for this kind of step. So after doing this, the next thing I did was simply coming and opening the photo in Photoshop. So I'll just come and hit open in order to open the image into Photoshop. And right here we're in Photoshop. So before I did anything, or before I do anything, I'll have to first of all remove these distractions. So I'll just come and get the spot healing brush tool and make sure mode is set to normal and content where is selected. So I'll just come and left click and paint over this softbox to eliminate it or get rid of it. So right now we have gotten rid of majority of the softbox. So the next thing that we are going to be doing in this case, we are simply going to crop the image in a ratio of 45 or 8:10. So I'll simply come and get the crop tool and simply stretch this a little bit more. So I'll just come and stretch it up just a little bit, just like that, and hit enter or return. But this is going to introduce this kind of black border. So get the spot healing brush tool once again and simply dab over this black edge just like that. And Photoshop is going to be doing a pretty nice job for us. Don't mind if at all the background looks a little bit messy. So what we're going to be doing in this step, you're simply going to come and first of all do the skin retouching. And for skin retouching, we are simply going to come to the background layer and duplicate it twice by pressing Ctrl J, or you can use Command J. Then we're going to name that to color, and you're going to name this up layer to texture. And if at all you have the action for frequency separation, you can simply play the action. So I'll just come and hide the texture layer and select the color layer. Simply come to filter, blur, come to Gaussian blur, take the radius all the way down and click on the skin and start taking up the radius slider. So for this, I'll stop at the point whereby the details are just starting to disappear from this very image. So at around 3 pixels, that is when I'm just starting to lose out on the skin textures or details. I'll click OK, select the texture layer now, activate it. Then come to image and come to apply image. And you're dealing with a 16-bit image. So come under layer, select the color layer. Blending has to be add for a 16-bit image. Opacity at 100%. The scale is to offset 0. And make sure the channel is set to RGB. And simply hit or turn on the invert option. And you'll see the details on this square layer. But if at all you're editing an 8-bit image, simply select the color layer, uncheck the invert option, come to the blending and select subtract. The scale is to offset 128, opacity at 100%, preserve transparency and mask are not checked, and you can have the details on the square layer. So our image is a 16-bit image. As you can see right here, we have 16. So shall revert the settings to 16-bit settings and click OK. Change the blend mode from normal to linear light. Select both layers and press Ctrl G, or you can use Command G. Open up the group by clicking on the drop down arrow. Come and select the color layer. And after selecting the color layer, simply come to the brushes, select the mixer brush tool. We are simply going to come to the hardness and make sure it is 0% and soft round brush is selected. Clean brush is selected, and make sure The second option that says clean brush after each stroke is also selected. With the weight of 9%, load 75, mix at 90, flat 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not turned on. And after doing this, just come and turn off or hide the texture layer. Slightly zoom in by using Ctrl plus on the keyboard, or you can use Command plus on the keyboard. And reduce on the size of the brush by using the bracket keys on the keyboard. So like I said, you can use Ctrl plus or you can use Command plus to zoom in. So for this step, you're basically going to start painting. So to paint or even out the skin tones, we simply left click and hold down and start mixing and blending the tones just like that. Left click and continue blending or evening out the skin tones or skin color. So we are basically painting colors that are looking alike in this very photo, so that we can have nice and smooth transitions between skin tones. So I'm just going to be doing this onto the rest of the image so that we can have the best out of the blended areas within the skin. So just continue blending, and as you're noticing that we are working on the image while retouching at a distance so that we can save so much time. So I'll just come and blend all these areas that have uneven skin tone transitions to kind of create some little bit or slight evenness within the skin tones. So for full body images, you don't have to do so much because no one is going to pixel peep or zoom all the way in. So I'll just paint on her legs just like that and try to even out on the colors, and you have to keep on increasing or reducing on the size of the mixer brush tool depending on the area you're working on. So the box bracket keys are going to increase or reduce on the size of the mixer brush tool depending on the area you're trying to work on. So I will slightly zoom into the face, get a smaller brush and blend the transitions between the skin tones on her face just like that. So I'll get a smaller brush and come to the nose area and just blend the tones just like that. So you don't have to do, or you don't have to go crazy when it comes to the retouching of full body images. So I'm just going to be doing very little work just like that. So you can now come and turn on the texture layer and see what you have been able to do and identify the areas that you may have missed out as you're trying to blend. So I'll just come to this area and blend it even better to create a nicer transition between the skin area. So you can see the before, after. It is not really crazy. So you can come to the texture layer and come and get the clone stamp tool. The mode is set to normal, opacity 100%, flat 100%, align is selected, and sample is set current layer. You can now zoom all the way in and try to remove the skin imperfections. So hold down the option key on the keyboard and left click, or option it is for Mac, alternate for Windows. So whenever I mention option and you're using Windows, hold down the alternate key on the keyboard. So option and left click on a clean area to copy clean skin, and release the option key on the keyboard and left click once again over the pimple or skin imperfection to replace that pimple with clean skin. So that is what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the skin imperfections or the blemishes on her skin. So you don't have to go really crazy with the editing process. So I'm just going to remove all these imperfections. So as you're seeing, it is really faster with no explanations. So if at all I wasn't doing any talking, I would really be done with everything regarding this very image. But the fact that I want to show you and explain for you what I really do while editing, that is why it is really taking longer than it is meant to take. So, and if at all you're finding value out of this tutorial, simply hit the like button. So I'm just going to zoom out, Control minus to zoom out. So after working on the skin, we are simply going to work on the background in this case. So in order to work on the background, we are simply going to create another stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E on the keyboard for Mac. Then for Windows is Shift Alternate Control E to create a stamp visible layer. And this is more of a merged layer for everything that we have below here. So you're simply going to come right here to select and come to subject, and Photoshop is going to automatically select the subject for us. And after the subject has been selected, we are simply going to make sure that the selection is accurate. So we're going to come and get the quick selection tool and make sure it is on the plus icon right here. You're going to zoom all the way in by using Control plus on the keyboard, or Control or Command plus rather. So you're going to zoom out and also include this prop that she's sitting on in this case. And you're going to zoom in a little bit more so that everything, including these parts of the glass, have been really selected. So you can use the bracket keys to reduce on the size of the quick selection tool. So this is a fair selection. So we don't want the subject to be selected. And in this case, what do we want to do? We don't want to perfect the background. So with this quick selection tool selected, you can simply come to select and just come to inverse, or you can as well right click on the image and come to select inverse, so that we can select the inverse, which is the background of the selection in this case. And in this case, the background is going to be selected. So we're going to come to the brushes and get the brush tool, the normal brush tool, and make sure the hardness is set to 0%. Soft round brush is selected. The opacity, we're going to be using a very low opacity of around 62%. And what do you want to do? Just want to remove the wrinkles or folds from the background. So we're just going to hold down the Option key on the keyboard. Option for Mac, then Alt is for Windows, and left click to sample a given color and start painting over the background just like that. Option and paint over the background. Option and paint. Keep away from painting closer to the subject because you don't want to distort some areas that are closer to the model. So I'm just going to sample here and slightly paint right there, just like that. So for the lower part of the model or on her legs, we are not going to be painting because right now we are going to get the mixer brush tool with the original settings that we had and increase on the size of the mixer brush tool and select clean brush and just come and, sorry about this. So we're just going to come and start painting to make the areas we just painted a little bit seamless and better. So you can zoom in by using Ctrl plus on the keyboard to have a better viewing experience. So reduce on the size and paint slightly softly on the lower part of the backdrop, just like that. And you can see in this way the backdrop is going to be looking smoother. So you can see in this particular area we slightly messed up when it comes to the model's shoe, but we can as well correct that later on. So I'll be showing you I can easily correct that particular area using the masking technique. So I'm just going to quickly paint on those areas, and you can see right now everything has been smoothened. So when it comes to this step, don't paint close to the subject. So in order to perfect this area, we're simply going to click on this masking option so that you can create this mask. Remember, the area we didn't want to affect is now black in color. So just come and get the brush tool and make sure the opacity this time around is all the way to 100%. And with that done, hit enter and zoom into the image. And after zooming in, just reduce on the size of the brush by using the bracket keys on the keyboard and just come and paint using black over the areas you did not want to affect. For instance, or for this case, we don't want the shoe to be affected, just like that. You're just going to be revealing back the original color of the shoe. So you can see we have just corrected that within a few seconds. So right now we have corrected the background. So you can now come and create another stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option, Control E, Shift Option, Command E for Mac, then Shift Alternate, Control E for Windows. And you can now get the spot healing brush tool, reduce on the size, and get rid of these nails on the prop that she's sitting on. So we are going to spice up this image before we dive into the final color grading. So in order to spice up this image, let's first of all brighten up the legs so that the color of her legs or the contrast on her legs can match with the rest of the body. So just come and get the quick selection tool in this case and just make a rough selection on her legs. So you can zoom in and make sure the selection is accurate as possible. And just come the adjustments, create a brightness and contrast adjustment layer, reduce on the contrast on her legs and simply brighten up her legs just like that. And you can see by just doing this, the legs are going to be looking a little bit brighter, but that is a little bit too much. So just reduce on that slightly. And you can see what we have before, after, before, after. Now that the legs have been perfected and they look better, we just want to spice up the background so that it can look a little bit better. So we're going to create a final adjustment or a final stamp visible layer by pressing Shift Option Command E on the keyboard. Then just come and select the subject once again. So just come to select, come to subject so that we can select the subject in this case. So right now I have selected the subject, but we only want to spice up the background for this step. So as usual, make sure a quick selection tool is selected and just add on the selections that have been not included. So don't forget that area of the shoe like we did initially before. And you can as well come and add the chair that she's sitting on or the prop. So after it has been selected, we are simply going to right click and select the inverse in order to select the background. We are simply going to come and get the brush tool. And this time around, we're just going to select the hard round brush tool and the hardness set all the way to 100%. The mode is normal, pass at 100%, flat 100%. And we're just going to sample a color from the background by pressing the Option key on the keyboard and sample a bright color. Option and left click to sample a bright color. And after choosing that bright color, you can as well click on these color swatches to change it to any bright color that you wish. And click OK. And just increase on the size of the brush by using the right box bracket key on the keyboard. And you're simply going to dab over the background just like that once. So to undo, press Ctrl Z. So I'm just going to dab over the background just once like that. And you can see the background has been now spiced up. So Ctrl D, or you can use Command D to deselect. Right now the image looks better and right now it is lacking a little bit of color grading. So in order to color grade this very image and make it look better, we are simply going to come and first of all whiten her eyes, come the hue and saturation adjustment layer and take down the saturation to around negative 80, press Ctrl I and come and get the brush tool. Make sure that the brush this time around is a soft round brush, hardness at 0, opacity and the flat 100%. We are simply going to zoom into this particular image and reduce on the size of the brush by using the bracket keys on the keyboard. And make sure you have white as the foreground color and reduce on the size and simply come and paint over the eyes to whiten or reveal the whitening effect in the eyes. Then you can even as well come and intensify on the blacks of this image by coming and taking up the black slider and adding that kind of cyan feel to the blacks. Then press Ctrl I, or you can use Command I and paint using a white brush on the hair and the shoes to have more blacks in those particular areas. Now that we are done editing this very image, we just want to take the image to Capture One to do the final adjustments, that is color grading. So I'm just going to come to the image and simply edit it in Capture One. So what I'll do, I'll just come to File and I'll come to Export, and first of all export as, and export the image how I would normally export it from Photoshop. And later on, so quality is at 100%, JPEG is selected, quality to the maximum rather, resample set to by cubic sharper, color space set to, convert to sRGB and embed color profile, and simply click on export. And I'm just going to rename the image while saving it. So I'll save it on the desktop, hit save. So in order to import our image into Capture One, I'll just come back to where my image has been stored or put. So I'll just come and choose my desktop and locate my image. So this is the image. Right click and come to open with, and I'll just come and import the image to Capture One so that we can do the final color grading. So I'm sorry if at all this seems to be a kind of lengthy tutorial. So right now we are in Capture One and we just want to work on the skin tones and color grade it. So you're simply going to come to work on the image. You're simply going to come under layers, right click and create a new field adjustment layer, and you're just going to scroll down to where you see skin tone. So just come to skin tone and get the color picker tool, make sure it is selected. We're now going to unify or create uniform skin tones for our subject. So just zoom in and simply click on an area you feel should represent the rest of the model's skin tone. And after choosing that area, the color range of that area is going to be displaying under these colors here. So I'm just going to come to where you see uniformity and start taking up the uniformity slider, and also concurrently start taking up the saturation until when I see that the skin is looking better and uniform. So if at all you're not satisfied, you can always undo everything and sample once again on the skin area that you want to represent or the rest of the skin tone to look like. So come back to uniformity and take up these uniformity sliders. But as you can see, the skin is leaning more towards the red side. So I'll just come to the hues and take the hue towards the green side slightly, which is the right hand side. But as you're doing this, you can notice that it is also affecting her outfit, and you're going to be correcting that later on. So I could even increase on the saturation of the colors within her skin tones, just like that. So when it is affecting the dress or even the makeup, this is what we're going to be doing to make it look even better. So to eliminate the colors from her dress, you're simply going to come to these AI tools and get the eraser or the magic eraser, and this is going to be working like magic. So I'm just going to simply click on her dress and draw over her dress, and you can see the magic that it is doing. It has revealed back the color of the original dress that we had initially. So just make sure that you paint on every color range of the dress to reveal back the initial or original color of her dress. You can as well come and get the normal eraser tool, and you can reduce on the size of the eraser by using the bracket keys on the keyboard, and you can erase it from the lipstick or even some parts like her nails that had changed as a result of creating a uniform skin tone or skin color. So you can see the before and after for just the color grading, and now the skin looks better and it looks uniform. So this is it. And if at all you want to save the image, simply come to File and you can export the image, or you can simply come right here to Export and just save it as JPEG to highest quality, and the quality set the maximum, which is 100, and just leave everything in sRGB color space, and you can export the image to whatever location that you want. So this is how I basically edited this very image. And if at all you have enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe if at all you have been watching, and you're not yet subscribed to this channel, Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in yet more videos on this channel. Don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.